Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today we are in Aylmer, Ontario. As you can see, we're passing by the entrance to the town here. We're going to go over some of the information about Aylmer, give you a little bit of the history of it, show you some of the buildings, structures, important places as we drive around the town of Aylmer. So it was originally known as Troy, but was renamed in 1835 after Lord Aylmer, who is the Governor-in-Chief of British North America. Now, I'll give you a little bit of the information about the town here. As we drive through, you can see some of the buildings here along Highway 3. You've got a mix of really nice century homes with some businesses and newer stuff in between, but the century homes here in Aylmer are quite beautiful. Now, Aylmer itself is actually surrounded by the township of Malahide. So everything outside of the town is a different town. It's sort of an enclave within this other township. The village itself was incorporated in 1872, and then it was incorporated as a town a couple years later in 1887. Now, Aylmer is part of Elgin County, part of our Elgin County series we're doing here on the channel. Population in 2021, 7,699 people. It's only up 2.8% from 2016, so it's not really a town on the rise, but it could be because, as I mentioned, this being an enclave town, maybe a lot of the developments are happening in Malahide. So the benefits of living there, maybe lower taxes, but you still have all the services that you would get by coming right into town a couple minutes away. So this is the downtown part of Aylmer. You can see there's quite a lot of restaurants and businesses. Pretty much all the buildings here are occupied. Maybe not that one. Oh, it looks a little sad. But we came here several times, years and years ago, before even moving to the area. There was a really good burger place. It was just down here, actually, down the street. It's gone now, but we used to come and get these really good burgers, go to the little park there and eat. And sadly, it's gone. But there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of Mexican flavors. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes, but you can see as we drive through the town here, there's a thrift store, and again, a lot of beautiful century houses, and they're really well taken care of. That's the other thing too. A lot of them, you can really tell pride of ownership when it comes to these buildings. People here in Aylmer are proud of their heritage, proud of their buildings, and it shows by them taking care of it. So average age here in town, 41 years old. The average in Ontario is 42, so pretty much right on the mark. Average income, individual income for the town, $44,080 Canadian. Household income, $100,800. So, you know, maybe two working people per household, 2.2 kind of thing. You got a decent salary. It is the lowest so far of the three places we've now visited here on the channel, but good information to know. Average home price, much lower than the $807,000 provincial average in Ontario. Average house price here in Aylmer, $461,200. Pretty affordable. We looked at it when we were coming here. There's just not a lot of properties for sale. People seem to like living here, so they don't really move too much. Before going into some of the history of the town, I'll talk about the language demographics. Might not surprise you, but out of the population here, 97.8% speak English only. No surprise to me. But what I did find interesting is 0.3% speak French only, and 0% speak both. So there's like maybe a family here in town. They have no English skills. They speak French. And then we've also got 1.8% that don't speak either. And we'll get to that in a minute. But as I said, we're just driving through one of the more residential streets here. This is Elk Street, if you're curious. Again, older homes. You can kind of see why the average house price here is a little bit lower. They are smaller houses, but for the most part, they're taken care of. So I want to tell you that here in town, if you're living in Aylmer, you are almost equidistant between Detroit and Buffalo. So for us in St. Thomas, it's closer for us to go to Detroit. But here in Aylmer, If you want to go to Buffalo or you want to go to Detroit, it's going to take you pretty much the same amount of time. You're pretty much right in the middle of those two major cities. Elmer is also home to the Ontario Police College. We're going to go take a quick drive up there after. It was established in 1962 as a central provincial police academy. It actually sits on the former Royal Canadian Air Force Station Aylmer, which only operated from 1941 to 1961. So 20 years for the Air Force base there before being moved into the police college. Now, this is something that I always found kind of interesting, and I'm sure you will too. We talked a little bit about how there's a population here that doesn't speak English or French. Well, it's because there's a large community of both Mennonite and Amish here in Elmer. And a lot of the Mennonites actually come from Mexico. Yes, my friends, Mexican Mennonites. Sounds strange to me, but once you find out why, maybe it makes a little bit more sense. Because they're not really Mexican natives. They're actually Canadians who used to live in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. They decided to move from there in the early 20th century down to Mexico. Maybe they didn't like the cold. They wanted somewhere warmer. But then they decided, nah, we're going to come back to Canada. But instead of going to the cold part, they came here to Elmer in the 1970s. And they called this home. So there are obviously a lot of Mennonites here. There's actually a Mexican Mennonite taco stand just outside of town, and there's a couple other Mexican Mennonite restaurants here in the city. So if you're looking for something different, there's not much more different than that. I can't think of a stranger mix-up than Mexican Mennonites, but that they are. Also, back in the early 1940s, Elmer used to be home for the Imperial Tobacco manufacturing plants. They used to make cigarettes here, and believe it or not, they actually continued operating until 2007. So it was a pretty big employer back in the 40s and 50s. I think they said about 800 people were working there, so a pretty good size of the population here in Elmer. And then by 2007, the final 88 people were laid off as they shut down their operations. And then finally, the Elmer Fair is one of the oldest fairs here in Ontario. It dates back to 1846. It includes activities today such as tractor pulls, demolition derbies, live music, rides, and more. Happens every year in August, and the 177th Elmer Fair will be taking place August 8th to 10th, 2025. So mark your calendars, get on down here to Elmer, check out the fair, and see what it's all about. So we're going to pass here through the main intersection. There's a little bridge here. This is, again, where we used to, I think the burger shop was just on the right here. I just remember we'd come here and get some burgers, and now they're gone. It's very sad. Burger shop can't make it work. I don't know what's wrong with our economy, because burgers are life. You can see a little bit of an older area here. A lot of churches here. Elmer is very, very known for their churches. But again, lots of older homes. These ones, not quite as nice as the ones we were seeing earlier, were they? But I think we'll head up to the police college now. Go check that out, see if we get shot for going there. And then we'll continue there. All right, so we're coming up here to the Ontario Police College. There's actually some buildings here on the left. Little industrial plaza. We'll see if we can actually pull in. Obviously, classes are not open at the moment because it is the middle of Christmas time. But you can see here that, we can go right in. Everybody report to security. We're not going to be reporting to security. We just want to pull in real quick just to see. It's quite a large building here. I got like an old Chevy police car here. It's kind of cool. They do it for skid training, it says. But every single police officer sworn in here in Ontario must come through this college. There are very, very rare exceptions, but essentially every single police officer comes here to Elmer to become a police officer. There's a 13-week course they do, which I know sounds like it's pretty quick, but I think in some places you don't have to do anything at all. But yeah, so Elmer is known for that. We see a lot of police training vehicles in our area driving around as they're practicing and learning the different, obviously the laws and how to do policing and all sorts of things like that. So we do see them quite often in our area. And then I will try to bring you back out here. I don't know if you'll see it on the front camera. So I do apologize if you don't, but there is a historic plaque, which I will turn towards. That is for the Royal Canadian Air Force Base that was here. So I will turn it here. You can see, hopefully on the camera, you have the plaque, and then there's like a kind of like a little airplane there. Doesn't look very realistic, but just to kind of remind us of where we were, as well as a Royal Canadian Air Force flag. That about does it for us here on this episode. If you have any questions, as always, we are here to answer them. We hope you enjoyed this video going through the town of Elmer, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.